Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Travel Stories. Tonight, we're traveling somewhere that feels like stepping into a dream, painted in shades of white and blue. Somewhere the sun stretches long and golden across an endless sea. Somewhere time moves at the pace of gentle waves, lapping against ancient stones. We're visiting a small village on a Greek island in the heart of summer, experiencing it for the very first time through eyes that have never seen such light, such color, such an unhurried and beautiful way of life. This is a place where the Aegean Sea meets whitewashed walls, where bougainvillea blooms in explosions of fuchsia against the brilliant sky, where the scent of oregano and salt air mingles with fresh bread from the morning bakery. It's a place where church bells mark the hours, where afternoons dissolve into a peaceful stillness, and where evenings unfold in candlelit tavernas overlooking water that shifts from turquoise to deep sapphire as the sun makes its slow descent. So settle into your bed, let your breathing deepen and slow, and allow yourself to be transported to this sun-drenched corner of the world. Feel the warmth on your skin, hear the distant sounds of the sea, and drift into the gentle rhythm of Greek island summer. The ferry approaches the island in the early morning, cutting through water so blue it seems impossible, almost unreal in its intensity. You stand on the deck, feeling the salt spray occasionally mist across your face, watching as the island gradually reveals itself from the haze of distance. At first, it's just a shape on the horizon, a darker blue against the pale morning sky. But as the ferry draws closer, details begin to emerge. White buildings cluster together on hillsides, seeming to tumble down toward the sea in a cascade of geometric shapes. Even from this distance, you can see flashes of color, those iconic blue domes that you've seen in countless photographs, but never imagined could be quite so vivid in person. The buildings catch the early light, glowing soft and warm, like they're holding the last traces of sunrise. The island grows larger, more distinct. You can make out the harbor now, a small crescent of calm water protected by old stone walls. Fishing boats bob gently at their moorings, their paint weathered by sun and salt into muted versions of blue and green and red. Behind the harbor, the village climbs the hillside, a labyrinth of narrow streets and staircases connecting one level to the next, all of it bathed in that extraordinary Mediterranean light. As the ferry slows its engines and begins the careful process of docking, you notice how the light seems different here. It's not just bright, it's crystalline, almost liquid in quality. It makes everything appear more vivid, more alive. The white walls are not simply white, but a dozen shades of cream and pearl and chalk, constantly shifting as clouds pass overhead or as the angle of the sun changes. The blue of the church domes and window shutters and doors is not merely blue, but cobalt and azure and cerulean, each surface reflecting light in its own particular way. The ferry touches the dock with a gentle thud, and crew members secure the thick ropes. The gangway is lowered, and you step onto the island for the first time, your feet finding purchase on sun-warmed stone. The air smells different here, a complex mixture of salt and sunshine, of wild herbs growing on the hillsides, of coffee brewing somewhere nearby, of that particular scent that seems to belong only to old whitewashed walls baking in the summer heat. The harbour is quiet at this hour, with just a few local people going about their morning routines. An elderly man sits on an overturned crate, mending a fishing net with patient, practiced movements. A woman sweeps the entrance to a small shop, the rhythmic sound of the broom on stone creating a peaceful accompaniment to the gentle lapping of waves against the harbour wall. A cat, tabby-striped and supremely confident, picks its way along a low wall, pausing to stretch luxuriously in a patch of early sunlight. You follow the narrow street that leads up from the harbour into the heart of the village. The street is paved with smooth stones, worn to a polish by countless footsteps over countless years. It's barely wide enough for a small car. Though you notice that most of the vehicles here are motorbikes or the occasional donkey, their hoofbeats creating a hollow echo between the close-set buildings. The houses rise on either side, their walls so white they almost hurt to look at in the strengthening sun. Every surface seems to have been freshly painted, though you know this bright whiteness is maintained year after year, a tradition that keeps the village looking perpetually new while somehow managing to feel timelessly ancient. The houses press close together, creating deep shadows in the narrow street, offering relief from the sun's intensity. As you walk deeper into the village, you begin to notice the details. The wooden doors, weathered and worn, painted in shades of blue that range from pale sky to deep ocean. The windows, some with traditional wooden shutters, others with wrought iron balconies where potted plants cascade in green waterfalls. The way the buildings seem to grow organically from the rock beneath them, as if they've been here forever, as if they've emerged from the island itself, rather than being constructed by human hands. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, the bougainvillea. It climbs the walls, in great cascading masses, its paper-thin bracts creating explosions of color that seem almost defiant against the white and blue simplicity of everything else. Fuchsia pink is the most common, though you spot shades of deep magenta, soft coral, brilliant orange, and pure white as well. The flowers spill over balconies, frame doorways, creep along roof lines, creating natural canopies of color that filter the sunlight into patterns of light and shadow on the street below. The bougainvillea thrives here in the heat and sun, requiring little water, seeming to revel in conditions that would wither other plants. Its thorny stems reach upward and outward with impressive determination, and the blooms last for months, from spring well into autumn. The locals tend them with care, training the vines along walls and pergolas, pruning them to maintain their shape, but otherwise allowing them the freedom to grow as they will. The result is breathtaking, a natural art installation that transforms the village into something that feels almost too beautiful to be real. The morning sun climbs higher in the sky, and the village begins to wake more fully. You hear the sound of shutters being opened, the wooden slats folding back with familiar creaks and thuds. Voices call out greetings in Greek, the language flowing in melodic patterns that you don't understand but somehow find comforting anyway. Somewhere nearby, a radio plays soft traditional music, the sound of a bouzouki creating a gentle soundtrack to the morning. The scent of baking bread grows stronger, and you follow it instinctively, your nose leading you through another narrow street, up a small flight of stone steps, worn smooth and slightly concave in the middle from generations of use, and around a corner to a small bakery. The door stands open, and through it you can see the baker, an older man with strong forearms and flour dusting his dark shirt, pulling loaves from a traditional wood-fired oven. The bread here is made fresh every morning, following recipes that have been passed down through families for generations. There's the traditional village bread, crusty and substantial, perfect for dipping in olive oil or tearing apart to share at a meal. There are smaller rolls seasoned with sesame seeds or herbs. There are the sweet breads too, like koulourakia, the tender cookies flavored with orange zest and vanilla, and sometimes the braided tsoreki with its characteristic mahlab spice and tender crumb. You join a small queue of villagers, each waiting their turn with patient ease, no one in any hurry. The baker greets each person by name, asks after their family, takes their order with careful attention. When your turn comes, you point to a round loaf of village bread, still warm from the oven, and the baker wraps it in simple paper with hands that have performed this action thousands of times before. Outside again, you continue your wandering exploration of the village. Bread is warm against your chest as you carry it, and you resist the temptation to tear off a piece and eat it immediately. Instead, you save it for later, for the moment when you'll sit somewhere quiet and taste it properly, perhaps with a drizzle of the local olive oil and a pinch of sea salt. The streets of the village wind and curve, climb and descend, branching off in unexpected directions. There's no grid here, no straight lines or right angles. The layout follows the natural contours of the land, responding to the slope of the hillside, working around outcrops of rock, creating a maze that could easily confuse a newcomer. But the village is small enough that you're never truly lost, and part of the pleasure is allowing yourself to wander without destination, to see where each street might lead. You pass small churches, their domes painted in that signature blue, their whitewashed walls glowing in the sun. Some are large enough to accommodate the entire village, with impressive bell towers and elaborate icons visible through open doors. Others are tiny chapels, barely bigger than a room, dedicated to particular saints and maintained by individual families. Each one has been lovingly cared for, the areas around them swept clean, small oil lamps kept burning before the icons, fresh flowers sometimes placed in simple vases. The church bells begin to ring, marking 9 o'clock in the morning. The sound echoes across the village and out over the sea, a series of clear tones that seem to hang in the air long after the bells have stopped swinging. It's a sound that has marked the hours here for centuries, calling the faithful to prayer, announcing celebrations, commemorating losses, simply reminding everyone of the passage of time in this timeless place. In the central plateau, the village square, life is beginning to gather. This is the heart of the community, a paved area shaded by a massive old plane tree, whose spreading branches create a natural canopy. Beneath the tree, small tables and chairs have been set out, and already a few people sit there with their morning coffee, reading newspapers, conversing in low voices, simply enjoying the relative cool of the shade. This is the Cafeneo, the traditional Greek coffee house, and it's almost exclusively the domain of older men in the morning hours. They sit with their tiny cups of Greek coffee, strong and unfiltered, sometimes accompanied by a glass of water. They play backgammon, the dice clattering against the wooden boards, creating a soundtrack of friendly competition. They discuss politics, village news, the weather, the state of their gardens, and their boats. They've been coming here for decades, some of them, sitting in the same chairs, ordering the same coffee, engaging in the same comfortable routines. The cafeneo is a social institution, a gathering place that serves a function far beyond simply providing refreshment. It's where relationships are maintained, where information is shared, where the pulse of village life can be felt. Women have their own gathering places and times, but the morning cafeneo is predominantly male, a space where older men can spend hours in each other's company, playing cards or backgammon, solving the problems of the world, or simply sitting in companionable silence. You find your own table at a small cafe nearby, this one more welcoming to tourists and younger locals, and you order a Greek coffee of your own. It arrives in a small cup, the coffee thick and dark, a layer of foam floating on top. You sip it slowly, careful not to disturb the grounds that will settle at the bottom of the cup, and you taste the strong, slightly bitter flavor, so different from the coffee you are used to at home. It's an acquired taste, perhaps, but there's something about drinking it here, in this place, at this time, that makes it perfect. The sun climbs higher and the temperature begins to rise noticeably. By 10 o'clock in the morning, the heat is already significant, though not yet at its peak. The air shimmers slightly above the white stones of the platea. People move a little more slowly, seeking shade where they can find it, settling into the rhythm that summer demands here. The village shops begin to open, their doors and windows wide to catch any breeze. There's a small market selling fresh produce, the vegetables and fruits displayed in neat rows outside, tomatoes so red they seem to glow, cucumbers with their skins still dewy, peaches and apricots fragrant and perfectly ripe. The proprietor, a woman with sun-weathered skin and quick, efficient movements, greets each customer warmly, selecting the best specimens, weighing them on an old-fashioned scale, wrapping them in paper bags. Next door is a shop selling local products, olive oil in beautiful bottles, honey that ranges from pale gold to deep amber, depending on which flowers the bees visited, herbs dried and packaged in simple jars, jars of olives cured in different ways. There's also locally made cheese, some soft and fresh, others aged and sharp, all of it produced from the milk of goats and sheep that graze on the island's hillsides, giving the cheese a distinctive flavor that speaks of wild herbs and salt air. You wander through these shops slowly, taking in the colors and scents, occasionally making small purchases, a jar of thyme honey, its aroma intense and almost medicinal, a small bottle of olive oil, green gold, and fruity. The shopkeepers are patient with your halting attempts at Greek, your pointing and gesturing, and they seem genuinely pleased when you show interest in their products, eager to explain the provenance of each item, how it was made, how it should be used. By 11 o'clock, the sun is blazing, and the temperature has become quite intense. The light is almost blinding now, reflecting off every white surface, making you grateful for your sunglasses and hat. The locals seem unbothered by the heat, moving through it with practiced ease, but you can feel it enveloping you, pressing down from above, radiating up from the stones beneath your feet. The streets of the village are quieter now, most people retreating indoors or to shaded areas. The shopkeepers position awnings and umbrellas to create maximum shade. Cats find cool spots in doorways or beneath benches, stretching out full length on the stone, their fur almost too hot to touch. Even the bougainvillea seems to droop slightly in the heat, though it will revive when evening comes and the temperature drops. You make your way back to where you're staying, a small room in a traditional house that's been converted to accommodate guests. The room is simple but perfect. Whitewashed walls, a wooden bed with crisp white linens, a small balcony overlooking the sea. The floor is tiled in traditional patterns, and the ceiling is supported by wooden beams that have darkened with age. Most importantly, the walls are thick, built in the old way, providing natural insulation that keeps the interior remarkably cool, even as the day grows hotter. You push open the wooden shutters, and the view takes your breath away. The sea spreads out before you, impossibly blue, stretching to the horizon where it meets an even paler blue sky. The water is calm today, with just the slightest movement suggesting the presence of a gentle current. In the distance, you can see other islands, their shapes hazy in the afternoon light, floating like mirages on the edge of vision. Below, the rooftops of the village cascade down the hillside in a tumble of white and blue and terracotta. From this vantage point, you can see the intricate way the buildings fit together, how they share walls and staircases, how they're connected by narrow passages and hidden courtyards. You can see the blue domes of churches, the bright splashes of bougainvillea, the occasional green patch of a garden or tree. The sound of the village drifts up to you, distant voices, the faint clatter of dishes from a taverna being prepared for lunch, the ever-present sound of the sea, so constant you almost stop noticing it, the way you stop noticing your own breathing. Occasionally, you hear the mournful call of a seagull or the put of a small motorboat leaving the harbor. This is the magic hour, the time when the heat of summer becomes most intense, when the light turns hard and white, when shadows shrink to almost nothing beneath the vertical sun. It's a time when the entire village seems to take a collective breath, to pause in its activities, to retreat from the intensity of the day. The concept of siesta, the afternoon rest, is not just a charming tradition here, but a practical necessity. When the temperature climbs into the 90s or beyond, when the sun beats down with relentless intensity, the sensible thing to do is to find somewhere cool and rest, to wait out the hottest hours before resuming activity when the day becomes more forgiving. You follow this wisdom, retreating from the balcony to the cool interior of your room. You close the shutters, leaving just a small gap to allow a cross breeze, and the room falls into a pleasant dimness. You lie down on the bed, feeling the cool cotton against your sun-warmed skin, and you close your eyes, not necessarily to sleep, but simply to rest, to let the heat and the journey catch up with you. Through the shutters, you can hear the village settling into its own rest. Gradually, the sounds diminish, voices quiet, the clatter of activity ceases. Even the birds seem to understand that this is a time for stillness. The only sound that continues is the sea, that eternal rhythm of waves meeting shore, a sound so ancient and constant, it seems to exist outside of time altogether. You might doze, or you might simply lie there in that state between waking and sleeping, your mind drifting, your body relaxed and heavy. Time moves differently during siesta, becoming elastic, stretching out or contracting in ways that don't quite make sense. Minutes might feel like hours, or an hour might pass in what seems like moments. The heat outside reaches its peak around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If you were to venture out then, you'd find the streets almost completely deserted, the shops closed, their metal shutters pulled down and padlocked, signs hanging in windows declaring closed for afternoon rest in multiple languages. The platea would be empty, the tables and chairs abandoned, the plane tree casting a pool of shade that no one occupies. Even the cats have disappeared, finding hidden cool spots known only to them. This is when the island feels most dreamlike, most removed from the normal flow of time. The intense light washes out details, creates a sense of unreality. The heat shimmers in waves above the pavement, distorting the air, making distant objects waver and blur. It feels like anything could be real or imagined, like you've stepped into a painting or a memory rather than an actual place. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, the afternoon begins to shift. The angle of the sun changes, no longer directly overhead, but beginning its slow arc toward the western horizon. The temperature, while still hot, loses some of its fierce edge. Shadows begin to lengthen again, creeping across streets and walls, offering relief that wasn't there an hour before. Around 5 o'clock, the village begins to stir again. You hear the sound of shutters being opened, metal grates being raised, the resumption of normal activity. People emerge from their homes and shops, refreshed by their rest, ready to engage with the world again. The afternoon heat is still significant, but it's become manageable, even pleasant in the growing shade. This is one of the loveliest times of day. This transition period between the intensity of afternoon and the approach of evening. The light has begun to soften, losing its harsh white quality and taking on warmer tones. Gold starting to mix with the brightness. The heat, instead of being oppressive, feels like a gentle embrace, wrapping around you like a warm blanket. You venture out again, joining the other people beginning to populate the streets. There's a different energy now compared to the morning, a sense of anticipation of the day's best hours still ahead. People greet each other with renewed enthusiasm, stopping to chat in doorways, catching up on the day's events, making plans for the evening. You make your way down toward the sea, following a path that winds between houses and gardens, eventually opening up to reveal the coastline. The beaches here are not the wide expanses of sand you might find elsewhere, but rather small coves, rocky in places, with patches of golden sand or smooth pebbles. The water is the color of gemstones, turquoise and aquamarine in the shallows, deepening to sapphire and navy in the depths. The beach is busier now than it would have been in the heat of afternoon, but it's still not crowded. Families have come down with their children who splash and play in the shallows, their laughter carrying across the water. Couples recline on beach chairs or towels, reading books or simply soaking in the sun. A few brave souls are swimming out further, their heads bobbing in the gentle swells. You wade into the water, and it's perfect. Cool enough to be refreshing after the heat of the day, but warm enough to be instantly comfortable. The seabed is visible beneath the crystalline water, and you can see small fish darting between rocks, seagrass swaying in invisible currents. You swim out a little ways, feeling the water support your weight, feeling all the tension and warmth of the day dissolve into the sea. The water is incredibly salty here, saltier than the Atlantic or Pacific, and it makes you more buoyant, easier to float. You flip onto your back and let yourself drift, looking up at the sky, which has begun to transition from harsh blue to something softer, more nuanced. The sun is still bright, but no longer blinding, and you can feel its warmth on your face without discomfort. Swimming here in the Aegean, you understand something of why the ancient Greeks built their civilization around this sea, why they were such skilled sailors and traders, why they saw their gods reflected in its waters. There's something about this particular sea, this particular light, this particular landscape that feels mythic, larger than life, as if the stories you've read are not ancient history, but could be happening right now, just out of sight around the next headland. You swim for a while longer, then return to shore, feeling cleansed and renewed. The sun is lower now, maybe an hour or two from setting, and the light has taken on that golden quality that photographers call the golden hour, when everything seems to glow from within. The white buildings of the village appear touched with gold, the blue accents richer and deeper, the bougainvillea almost luminous. Back in the village, preparations are underway for evening. The tavernas that line the harbour and populate the platea are setting out their tables, covering them with traditional blue and white checked tablecloths, placing small vases with fresh flowers in the centres. They're lighting candles in glass holders that will provide soft illumination as darkness falls. They're arranging chairs, sweeping away the dust of the day, creating welcoming spaces for the dinner service to come. In the kitchens, you can imagine the activity. Cooks preparing the day's fresh catch, cleaning fish and squid and octopus. They're chopping vegetables, making the traditional Greek salad, horiatiki, with its chunks of tomato and cucumber, thick slices of feta, olives, capers, everything dressed simply with olive oil and oregano. They're preparing the mezze, those small dishes meant for sharing that will precede the main course. Tzatziki, cool and garlicky, melizzano salata, smoky eggplant dip, dolmades, tender grape leaves stuffed with rice and herbs, fava, a smooth puree of yellow split peas. The main courses will be simple but perfect. Fish grilled whole over charcoal, brushed with olive oil and lemon, sprinkled with oregano and sea salt. Calamari, tender and lightly fried. Maybe lamb, slow roasted until it falls from the bone. Or chicken, marinated in lemon and herbs. Everything will be served with fresh bread for dipping in the juices, with Greek salad on the side, perhaps with a simple pasta or rice dish, all of it designed to be shared, to be eaten slowly over the course of hours, to be enjoyed rather than simply consumed. You wander through the village as it prepares for evening, and there's a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. This is when the village truly comes alive. When the heat of the day has passed and the cool of night hasn't yet arrived, when everything exists in that perfect balance of warm and comfortable, the tradition of the Volta is beginning. That evening promenade that's such an integral part of Greek island life. People emerge from their homes dressed in their evening clothes. Not fancy necessarily, but fresh and clean. Put together with care. They walk through the streets, pausing to greet friends and neighbors, stopping to admire a garden or compliment someone's new grandchild, moving in leisurely circuits through the village. The Volta is about seeing and being seen, about participating in the community, about claiming your place in the social fabric of the village. It's not about exercise, though the walking is pleasant. It's not about getting anywhere in particular. It's about being present, being part of the flow of life here, maintaining the connections that make a village more than just a collection of houses. You join this gentle flow of humanity, this slow procession through the narrow streets. People nod to you, smile, offer kalispera in greeting. Children run ahead of their parents, their voices bright with excitement. Teenagers gather in small groups, conscious of being watched, performing a careful dance of independence and belonging. Elderly couples walk arm in arm, their steps synchronized from decades of practice. The sun is setting now, beginning its descent toward the horizon, and people start to gather at vantage points that offer views to the west. Some go to the castle ruins at the highest point of the village. Others claim spots along the western-facing walls. You find a place on a low wall near the edge of the village, and you settle in to watch. The sunset here is not a quick affair, but rather a long, drawn-out performance, a gradual transformation of the sky from day to evening. The sun, which has been yellow-gold through the afternoon, begins to deepen to orange, then to a rich red gold as it approaches the horizon. The sky around it passes through a spectrum of colors, pale yellow fading to peach, to pink, to lavender, to deep purple. Each band of color distinct yet blending seamlessly into the next. The sea reflects this changing sky, becoming a mirror for the celestial display. Where the sun's path crosses the water, there's a river of light, dancing and shimmering, impossibly bright. On either side, the water darkens through shades of blue and purple and grey, creating a constantly shifting palette that no painter could quite capture. The clouds, if there are any, catch fire with colour, their edges limned in gold and pink, their bellies glowing orange and red. Birds wheel and call in the changing light, dark silhouettes against the colored sky. The village itself seems to glow, lit from behind by the setting sun, every surface catching and reflecting the warm light. People watch in relative silence, commenting occasionally on the beauty, but mostly just witnessing this daily miracle, this transformation of day into night. There's something almost sacred about it. This collective pause to observe the natural world's rhythms, to mark the passage of another day in this timeless place. As the sun finally touches the horizon, then begins to sink below it, the sky intensifies in color, the oranges and reds becoming more vivid, the purples deepening toward indigo. The light on the village shifts, becoming more golden, more warm, making everything appear soft and dreamlike. And then the sun is gone, slipped beneath the edge of the world, leaving behind a sky still glowing with color, but slowly fading toward the blue-black of coming night. The first stars appear, faint at first, then growing brighter as the sky darkens. The evening star, Venus, hangs brilliant and white in the western sky. In the village, lights begin to come on, warm yellow glows appearing in windows, street lamps flickering to life along the main paths. The tavernas are fully lit now, their candles burning, their interiors welcoming. Music begins to drift from some of them. Traditional Greek music played on bouzouki, or modern songs familiar across the Mediterranean. This is the time for dinner, for gathering with friends and loved ones, for settling in for a long, leisurely evening of eating and drinking and conversation. The tables in the tavernas fill up, Greeks and tourists sitting side by side. Everyone here for the same reason: to enjoy good food, good company, the pleasure of a summer evening by the sea. You choose a taverna along the harbor, its tables set right at the edge of the water, so close you could almost trail your fingers in the sea while eating. The owner, a robust man with a ready smile and expansive gestures, shows you to a table, brings you a carafe of the house wine, pale and crisp and cold, pours you a glass, and leaves you to consider the menu. The menu is simple, handwritten, listing the day's offerings in Greek and English. You decide to start with some meze to share, even though you're dining alone, because that's how they're meant to be eaten, in small portions, sampling different flavors, taking your time. You order the tzatziki, thick yogurt mixed with cucumber and garlic and dill, served with warm pita bread. You order grilled octopus, tender and smoky, dressed with olive oil and lemon. You order a Greek salad because you haven't yet had one here, and you want to taste how it differs from the versions you've had at home. The food arrives gradually, not all at once, but in waves, giving you time to savor each dish. The tzatziki is cool and tangy, the garlic present, but not overwhelming. Perfect for dipping the soft pita bread. The octopus is a revelation, tender rather than rubbery, with a delicate charred flavor from the grill and the bright acidity of lemon juice cutting through the richness of the olive oil. The salad is simple but perfect. The tomatoes and cucumbers so fresh and flavorful they hardly need dressing. The feta creamy and salty. The olives plump and briny. You order a main course next, choosing the grilled fish of the day, and when it arrives, it's whole and magnificent, its skin crispy and charred, its flesh white and flaky and sweet. The waiter shows you the proper technique, using a fork and spoon to lift the flesh from the bones, squeezing fresh lemon over it, dragging it through the pooled olive oil on the plate. Each bite is tender and flavorful, tasting of the sea and the smoke of the grill and the brightness of lemon. The meal stretches on for hours, as it should. There's no rush, no one waiting for your table. No sense that you should order and eat and leave. You're encouraged to linger, to order another carafe of wine, to perhaps try a dessert or a coffee, to stay as long as you like, enjoying the evening, the company, the simple pleasure of being here. At nearby tables, Greek families are doing the same. Multiple generations gathered together, children running between tables while adults linger over their wine. Conversation flowing in patterns of Greek that rise and fall like music. Tourists snap photos, their phones and cameras trying to capture the magic of the moment, though you know already that no photograph can quite convey what it feels like to be here, to experience this directly. The night deepens around you, the sky now fully dark, except for the astonishing spray of stars overhead. Here, far from any major city, with no light pollution to speak of, the stars are so numerous and bright, they seem almost artificial, like someone has scattered diamonds across black velvet. The Milky Way is clearly visible, a cloudy band of light stretching across the sky. You can make out constellations, though you don't know many of their names. Just recognize their patterns from half-remembered childhood lessons. The moon rises nearly full, casting a silver path across the water, a ghostly echo of the sun's golden path from earlier. In its light, the village appears almost ethereal, the white buildings glowing softly, the blue accents appearing black in the monochrome illumination. Cats prowl the shadows, their eyes catching and reflecting the light. The occasional dog barks in the distance, the sound carrying clearly through the still night air. Around 11 o'clock, you finally settle your bill, thanking the owner who has stopped by your table several times during the evening to make sure everything was to your liking, to refill your water, to offer complimentary ouzo or a small dessert. You leave a generous tip, grateful for the experience, for the food and the hospitality and the opportunity to sit here for hours without pressure or judgment. You walk back through the village, taking a different route than you came, continuing your exploration even in the dark. The streets are quieter now, but far from deserted. Couples stroll hand in hand, stopping occasionally to kiss in shadowy doorways. Groups of young people gather in the platea, their laughter ringing out, bottles of beer or wine being passed around. From some of the tavernas, you hear live music, someone playing guitar and singing traditional songs that everyone seems to know the words to. The walk back to your room takes you up several flights of stairs, the steps uneven and worn, requiring careful navigation in the dark despite the occasional street lamp. You pass the houses where windows are still lit, where you can hear the sounds of families inside, the clatter of dishes being washed, the murmur of conversation, the voices of children being put to bed, a television playing the evening news. When you reach your room, you open the shutters wide to let in the night air, which has cooled considerably from the heat of the day. It's still warm, but pleasantly so, the kind of warmth that feels like a caress rather than an assault. You can hear the sea from here, that eternal rhythm continuing in the darkness, and beneath it, the sound of the village settling in for the night. You lie in bed, the cotton sheets cool against your skin, and you reflect on this day, your first full day in this Greek island village. The rhythm of it has been so different from your normal life, shaped by the sun and the heat, by traditions that have been practiced here for generations, by a sense of time that moves at its own pace, unhurried and generous. There's something profound about experiencing a place like this, about allowing yourself to be absorbed into its rhythms rather than imposing your own expectations upon it. The early rising, the morning coffee, the intense heat of midday, the siesta, the late afternoon swim, the sunset, the long dinner, the gentle evening walk, the quiet night under the stars. All of it flows together in a pattern that feels both ancient and immediate, both foreign and strangely familiar. You think about the people you've encountered today, the baker with his strong forearms and flour-dusted shirt, the shopkeeper carefully selecting the best tomatoes, the taverna owner with his ready smile and generous spirit. You think about the other travelers you've seen from all corners of the world, drawn here by the same things that drew you: the beauty, the light, the sense of stepping outside of normal time into something more elemental and true. You think about the landscape, the way the white buildings cascade down the hillside, the way the bougainvillea explodes in brilliant color against that whiteness, the way the sea changes color throughout the day, from pale turquoise to deep sapphire to silver gray in the moonlight. You think about the quality of the light here, that extraordinary Mediterranean luminosity that makes everything appear more vivid, more alive. And you think about tomorrow, about waking to another day in this place, about exploring more of the village and the island, about finding hidden beaches and quiet coves, about tasting more of the local food, about perhaps renting a small boat and exploring the coastline from the water, about climbing to the highest point of the island and looking out across the Aegean to other islands floating in the distance. But mostly, you think about staying present, about not rushing, about allowing yourself to move at the pace this place demands, because that's the real gift of coming here. Not just seeing beautiful things or eating delicious food or taking stunning photographs, but learning a different way of being, a way that honors slowness and simplicity, that values connection and community, that finds pleasure in small moments and everyday rituals. The village continues around you as you drift towards sleep. You hear footsteps on the street below, voices calling good night, a door closing, a cat meowing. The church bells ring midnight, 12 clear tones that echo out across the village and the sea. Gradually, the sounds diminish as people retreat to their homes, as lights are extinguished, as the village settles into the deep quiet of night. But the sea continues its eternal rhythm, waves meeting shore in an endless pattern that has been going on for millennia and will continue long after you've left this place. It's a comforting sound, that constancy, that reminder of something larger and older than human concerns, something that continues regardless of whether anyone is listening or not. You think about the generations of people who have lived in this village, who have walked these same streets, who have watched these same sunsets, who have listened to this same sea. You think about the continuity of it, the way traditions are passed down, the way knowledge is shared, the way each generation learns from the one before how to live in harmony with this landscape, this climate, this particular place. And you feel grateful to be here, to have this opportunity to experience it, even briefly, even as an outsider looking in. Because there's something valuable in witnessing how other people live, in seeing different ways of organizing a day, of building a community, of finding meaning and pleasure in life. It challenges your assumptions, expands your understanding, reminds you that there are many ways to be human, many ways to create a good life. The Greek island village in summer is not just a place, but a philosophy, a way of approaching existence that prioritizes simplicity over complexity, quality over quantity, being over having. It's a philosophy shaped by the environment, by the intensity of the sun and the scarcity of water, by the proximity of the sea and the isolation of island life, by thousands of years of people learning how to thrive in this particular landscape. It teaches patience because you cannot rush in this heat. It teaches adaptability because you must adjust your schedule to accommodate the midday siesta. It teaches community because survival on an island requires cooperation and mutual support. It teaches appreciation because when resources are limited, you learn to value what you have. It teaches presence because the beauty of this place demands your attention, asks you to slow down and really see, really taste, really experience. As sleep begins to claim you, your last conscious thoughts are of the morning to come, of waking to sunlight streaming through the shutters, of the scent of fresh bread and coffee drifting through the streets, of another day in this extraordinary place where time moves differently, where life is lived according to ancient rhythms, where the simple act of existing can feel like a gift. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal patterns. The moon continues its arc across the sky. The sea continues its conversation with the shore. And the village sleeps, white and silent, under the vast Mediterranean night, dreaming perhaps of all the mornings and all the sunsets and all the summer days that have come before and all those still to come. This is a place that has been here for hundreds of years and will likely be here for hundreds more, largely unchanged in its essential character, despite the passage of time and the arrival of modernity. There's something reassuring about that continuity, that permanence, especially in a world that often seems to change too quickly, where the old ways are constantly being replaced by the new. But here, in this village, on this island, in the heat of summer, the old ways persist. People still bake bread in wood-fired ovens. They still gather at the cafeneo for morning coffee. They still close their shops for siesta. They still take their evening volta. They still eat long, leisurely dinners by the sea. They still mark the hours by church bells rather than by the chiming of phones. And they welcome visitors like you, strangers from far away, inviting you to participate in these rhythms, to experience this way of life, to carry some piece of it with you when you eventually leave. Because that's part of the tradition too, that famous Greek hospitality, philoxenia, the love of strangers, the generous welcome extended to all who come with respect and good intentions. As you sink deeper into sleep, the village and the sea and the stars all blend together into a dreamscape where white walls glow with an inner light, where bougainvillea blooms in colors that don't exist in the waking world, where the sea speaks in a language you somehow understand, where time stretches out endlessly in all directions, where every moment contains eternity. And when you wake in the morning to the sound of church bells and the scent of bread baking and the light of another brilliant day, you'll have the chance to experience it all again, to add another layer to your understanding of this place, to deepen your connection to these rhythms and traditions, to learn a little bit more about what it means to live well in a small village on a Greek island in the heart of summer. But for now, you sleep deeply and peacefully, your breathing synchronized with the rhythm of the sea, your body cooled by the night breeze that flows through the open shutters, your mind quiet and content, your soul somehow expanded by this experience of beauty and simplicity and timeless Mediterranean grace. The village sleeps around you, each house containing its own small world of dreams and hopes and memories. The cats curl up in their chosen spots. The boats bob gently in the harbor. The bougainvillea releases its faint fragrance into the night air. The stars shine down with ancient light, and the sea, always the sea, continues its eternal conversation with the land, patient and constant and utterly indifferent to the small dramas of human life unfolding in the white village on the hillside. The days in this village unfold with a rhythm that becomes familiar surprisingly quickly. Each morning brings variations on the same themes: the gradual brightening of the sky, the sound of shutters opening, the bakery sending its warm, yeasty scent through the narrow streets, the gathering of older men at the cafeneo, their conversation and laughter creating a familiar soundtrack to the morning. You begin to recognize faces, even if you don't know names. The woman at the produce market, who always insists on selecting the fruit for you herself, refusing to let you choose because she knows better which ones are truly ripe, truly perfect. The teenager who delivers bread from the bakery on a small motorbike, weaving expertly through the narrow streets, somehow managing to balance enormous stacks of fresh loaves. The elderly couple who sit on their balcony every evening, watching the world go by, occasionally calling down greetings to passers-by. There's the fisherman who returns to the harbour each morning with his catch, his boat painted in faded blues and greens, his hands rough and scarred from years of working with lines and nets. He sells his fish right from the boat sometimes, and people come down to see what he's brought in. Red mullet with their distinctive barbels, sea bream with their silver scales, small octopuses that will be grilled or stewed in wine, squid that will be cleaned and fried in delicate rings, sardines that shine like silver coins in the morning light. The fish here is so fresh it was swimming in the Aegean just hours ago. And there's a directness to this connection between sea and plate that makes eating it feel almost sacred. When you order fish at a taverna, you're not just consuming food, you're participating in a relationship between people and sea that goes back thousands of years to the very beginnings of Greek civilization, when survival depended on understanding the sea's moods and rhythms, knowing where and when to fish, respecting the waters that both nourished and threatened. You spend hours exploring the smaller streets of the village, the ones that don't appear on maps, that lead to dead ends or circle back on themselves in confusing loops. These are the arteries of local life, where laundry hangs from balconies, where potted herbs grow in former olive oil tins, where conversations are conducted between neighbors on different floors, voices calling up and down in the particular way that Greeks have of making even a simple exchange sound musical and emphatic. You discover small churches you hadn't noticed before, tucked into corners, built into the sides of hills, their doors often open to reveal cool, incense-scented interiors. Each one has its icons, some old and darkened with age, others newer and brightly painted. Each has its oil lamps burning, their small flames flickering in the draught from the door. Each has its particular saint or saints, its feast day celebrated once a year with processions and music and feasting. The religious life of the village is woven through everything here, not separate from daily existence, but integral to it. The calendar is marked by saints' days and fasts and feasts. The year revolves around Easter, the most important celebration, but also around Assumption Day in August, when it seems like every island in Greece holds a panegyri, a festival with music and dancing and food that lasts all night. Even if you're not Orthodox, even if you don't share these beliefs, there's something moving about witnessing this continuity of faith, this unbroken line of practice stretching back through the centuries. The same prayers have been said in these churches for hundreds of years. The same rituals performed. The same icons venerated. There's a weight to that history, a depth that you can feel, even if you don't fully understand it. In the afternoons, after siesta, you sometimes rent a small motorbike or simply walk to explore other parts of the island. There are olive groves on the hillsides, the trees ancient and gnarled, their trunks twisted into fantastic shapes by centuries of wind and sun. Some of these trees are hundreds of years old, planted by ancestors of the current residents, still producing fruit, still being harvested each autumn in a process that has changed very little over the generations. The olives here are not the mild, canned varieties you might be used to. They're strong and intensely flavored, cured in salt or brine or oil, each family having their own preferred method passed down through generations. Some are wrinkled and dark, cured until they're almost sweet. Others are bright green and firm, with a sharp, bitter bite. All of them taste unmistakably of this place, of the rocky soil and the salt air and the intense Mediterranean sun. The olive oil is extraordinary, pressed from olives grown on this island, green and fruity with a peppery finish that catches in the back of your throat. It's used lavishly here, not as a luxury, but as a staple, drizzled over bread, mixed into salads, used for cooking and frying and preserving. The bottles in the shops might be simple and unadorned, but the oil inside is liquid gold, the product of careful cultivation and pressing, each bottle containing the essence of this landscape. You find small chapels in unexpected places, at the top of a hill, accessible only by a steep path, beside a spring, its water collected in an old stone basin, at the end of a promontory overlooking the sea. Some of these are so small they can barely fit more than a few people, built by individuals or families as offerings of thanks or devotion. They're maintained with care, they are whitewashed fresh, their little gardens tended, candles and oil lamps always burning before the icons. The beaches you discover are varied and beautiful, each with its own character. Some are tiny coves, accessible only by footpath or boat, their sand unmarked, their waters perfectly clear. Others are larger and more developed, with tavernas along the shore, umbrellas and lounges available for rent, facilities for water sports. You try them all, learning which ones catch the afternoon sun, which ones have the calmest water, which ones are best for swimming versus simply lying on the warm sand. The water of the Aegean is different from any you've swum in before. The salt content makes you more buoyant, and the clarity allows you to see incredible distances down. You can watch fish swimming 20 feet below you, can see the rocks on the bottom, can spot sea urchins nestled in crevices. The temperature is perfect in summer, warm enough to stay in for hours, but cool enough to be refreshing after baking in the sun. You develop your own routines, your own favorite spots and times. Morning coffee at a particular cafe in the platea, where the owner has begun to recognize you, to know what you'll order, to greet you with a smile and a calimera that makes you feel just for a moment like a regular rather than a tourist. Afternoon swims at a small beach you found, quieter than the main ones, where the rocks create natural pools perfect for floating. Evening walks to a spot at the edge of the village where you can watch the sunset without the crowds. You begin to understand the subtle social rules that govern life here. The importance of greeting people properly with calimera in the morning, kalispera in the evening. The way conversations happen slowly, with proper attention given to asking after health and family before getting to the point. The respect shown to elders, the way younger people give up seats for them, help them with packages, listen patiently to their stories. You notice how food is shared, how plates of appetizers at tavernas are placed in the center of the table for everyone to take from, how it's normal to try a bite of what your neighbor is eating, to offer a taste of your own meal. In return, you learn that refusing hospitality is considered rude, that when someone offers you something, you should accept graciously, even if it's just a small glass of water or a piece of fruit. The generosity here can be overwhelming sometimes. Shop owners giving you extra olives, not charging for them, just adding them to your bag because they want you to try their favorite variety. Taverna owners sending out small dishes you didn't order. Complimentary offerings of whatever the cook has made that's special today. People stopping to help when you look confused or lost, going far out of their way to show you where you're trying to go, refusing any thanks as if helping a stranger is simply what one does. This generosity, this philoxenia, is not a tourist marketing strategy, but a genuine cultural value, something deeply embedded in Greek identity. The tradition goes back to ancient times, when travelers depended on the hospitality of strangers for survival, when refusing to help someone could literally mean their death. Today, the stakes are lower, but the value persists. Greeks take pride in their hospitality. in their ability to make strangers feel welcome, to share what they have generously and without expectation of return. As the days pass, you begin to feel yourself slowing down, matching your pace to the rhythm of the village. You stop rushing, stop trying to see and do everything. Stop checking your phone constantly for messages from home. You start to simply be here, present in each moment, attentive to the small details that make up a day. The way the light falls across a wall, the sound of waves in the distance, the taste of a perfect tomato, the feeling of sun-warmed stone beneath your bare feet. This slowing down is not laziness or boredom, but a different way of engaging with time, one that values depth over breadth, quality over quantity. Instead of seeing 10 things superficially, you see 3 things deeply. Instead of eating quickly so you can move on to the next activity, you eat slowly, savoring each bite, allowing the meal to become an experience rather than just fuel. Instead of taking hundreds of photos to prove you were here, you take a few and spend more time just looking, just experiencing, just being present without the mediation of a camera. You begin to understand what the locals mean when they talk about siga siga, slowly, slowly. The Greek philosophy that everything happens in its own time, that rushing doesn't actually get you anywhere faster, that patience and presence are more valuable than efficiency and speed. It's a hard lesson for someone from a culture that prizes productivity and constant motion, but here, in this place, it starts to make sense. The friendships you develop are brief but genuine. The couple from the Netherlands who are staying in the room next to yours, with whom you share morning coffee and swap travel stories. The Greek-American woman visiting her ancestral village, reconnecting with distant relatives, navigating the complex territory of being from here and not from here simultaneously. The solo traveler from Japan, quiet and observant, who speaks limited English but communicates through smiles and gestures and shared appreciation for the beauty of this place. There are moments of pure joy in these summer days, moments that seem to crystallize everything that's wonderful about being here. Swimming in the sea at dawn when you're the only person in the water, the sun just rising, the village still asleep on the hillside, sitting at a taverna on a warm evening, eating fresh grilled fish, drinking cold white wine, listening to traditional music drifting from somewhere nearby, walking through the village at night under the stars, the white walls glowing in the moonlight, the scent of night-blooming flowers heavy in the air. There are also moments of quiet contemplation, times when you sit alone and simply observe, thinking about nothing in particular, letting your mind wander. These moments of stillness are rare in your normal life, but here they seem natural, even necessary. The environment encourages this kind of reflection, this stepping back from the constant noise and distraction of modern life. You think about what you'll take home with you when you eventually leave this place. Obviously, there will be physical things: the jar of honey, the bottle of olive oil, the small evil eye charm you bought from a shop, the photographs on your phone. But more important are the intangible things, the memories and insights and shifts in perspective that will stay with you long after the souvenirs are consumed or misplaced. You'll remember the quality of the light here, that extraordinary luminosity that makes everything appear more vivid. You'll remember the taste of food eaten by the sea, simple but perfect. You'll remember the sound of church bells echoing across the village, the rhythm of waves against stone, the music of Greek conversation. You'll remember the kindness of strangers, the generosity of spirit, the sense of being welcomed into a community, even as an outsider. But perhaps most importantly, you'll remember the feeling of slowing down, of living at a more human pace, of finding pleasure in simple things. You'll remember that it's possible to step outside the frantic rush of modern life, that there are places and ways of being that honor different values, community over individualism, presence over productivity, quality over quantity, being over having. As your time in the village draws toward its end, you find yourself already nostalgic, already mourning the departure you haven't yet made. You want to fix this experience in memory, to preserve it somehow against the inevitable fading that time will bring. You take more photographs, but you know, even as you do, that they won't really capture it, that no image can convey the feeling of being here, the totality of the sensory experience, the way this place has changed something in you. On your last evening, you return to the same taverna where you ate your first dinner, closing the circle, creating a symmetry that feels appropriate. You order the same things: the tzatziki, the grilled octopus, the Greek salad, the fresh fish. They taste even better than you remembered. Or perhaps you're just more present now, more attuned to the subtle flavors and textures, more appreciative of the skill and care that goes into their preparation. You sit there long after you've finished eating, watching the other diners, listening to the conversations around you in Greek and English and German and French and a dozen other languages. This village, this small place on a small island in the Aegean Sea, draws people from all over the world, all of them seeking something: beauty, rest, connection, escape, transformation, or simply a good vacation in a beautiful location. And the village accommodates them all, absorbing them into its rhythms, offering them what it has always offered: hospitality, beauty, simplicity, the gift of time moving at a more humane pace. Some visitors will come once and never return, but they'll carry the memory with them, pulling it out on difficult days, using it as a reminder that such places exist, that such ways of living are possible. Others will return year after year, becoming familiar faces, building relationships, eventually feeling like part of the extended family of this place. Tomorrow will bring another perfect day, another opportunity to explore and experience and simply be present in this remarkable place. But that's tomorrow. For now, there is only this: the deep quiet of a Greek island night, the comfort of a cool bed, the satisfaction of a day well lived, and the gentle pull of sleep drawing you down into dreams of blue domes and white walls and bougainvillea and endless summer sunshine. The village has taught you something important, though you might not fully articulate it until you're back home, back in your normal life. It's taught you that there are different ways to measure the value of a day, that productivity isn't the only metric that matters, that sometimes the best use of time is to sit still and watch the sea, to drink coffee slowly while conversing with strangers who might become friends, to eat a meal that lasts for hours, to walk without destination through streets you've already walked before. It's taught you that beauty matters, that surrounding yourself with lovely things, simple white walls and blue domes and cascading flowers, actually improves the quality of life. It's taught you that community matters, that knowing your neighbors and greeting them daily and participating in shared rituals creates bonds that make life richer and more meaningful. It's taught you that food matters, not just as nutrition, but as culture, as connection, as pleasure, as an expression of place and tradition. And perhaps most profoundly, it's taught you that it's possible to step outside your normal patterns, to try on a different way of being, to discover that you're capable of slowing down, of being present, of finding joy in simplicity. This knowledge is a gift you can carry back with you, something you can draw on when life feels too fast, or too complicated or too disconnected from what really matters. As you drift towards sleep on this last night, you make a silent promise to yourself to remember these lessons, to try to carry some of this slowness and presence and appreciation back into your daily life. You know it won't be easy, that the momentum of modern life will pull you back into familiar patterns. But maybe, just maybe, you can hold on to some of this, can create small pockets of Greek island time in your regular schedule, can remind yourself to slow down, to be present, to find joy in simple pleasures. The sea continues its ancient rhythm, indifferent to your thoughts and feelings, caring nothing for your insights or revelations. It was here long before you arrived, and will be here long after you leave. The village too will continue, its residents going about their daily lives, welcoming new visitors, saying goodbye to others, maintaining their traditions and rhythms regardless of who comes or goes. And that's oddly comforting, this sense of continuity, this knowledge that some things persist despite constant change. The village will be here if you ever want to return. We'll welcome you back with the same generosity it showed on your first arrival. The sea will still be this same impossible blue. The sun will still set in spectacular displays of color. The bougainvillea will still bloom in brilliant profusion. The bread will still emerge from wood-fired ovens each morning. The church bells will still mark the hours. You are changed by this experience, subtly but permanently. You will never look at white walls or blue domes quite the same way. You will seek out Greek salads and be disappointed when the tomatoes don't taste like the ones here. You will close your eyes sometimes and try to summon the feeling of floating in the warm Aegean, or the taste of grilled octopus with lemon, or the sound of waves against ancient stone. And sometimes, on particularly difficult days when life feels overwhelming, you will close your eyes and return here in memory, walking these narrow streets, sitting at a taverna, overlooking the sea, watching the sun set in impossible colors, feeling the warm evening breeze on your skin. You will remember that such places exist, that such peace is possible, that there are corners of the world where life moves slowly and beautifully and generously. This memory will sustain you, will remind you of what matters, will help you maintain perspective when you're caught up in the rush and worry of daily life. The village, the sea, the summer sunshine, the bougainvillea, the blue domes, the fresh bread, the grilled fish, the kindness of strangers, the beauty of simple things. All of it will live on in your heart, a small piece of Greece that you carry with you wherever you go. If you've enjoyed this journey to a Greek island village in summer, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more peaceful travel stories. May you find your own place of peace and beauty, your own rhythm of slow and simple joy. Sweet dreams and kalinichta. Good night.